As a fan, what's the best way to get someone into a show? If you said pester potential fan until they cave and begrudgingly watch the show, get out. Don't be that guy. No, the correct answer is to, with their permission, show them an episode that sums up everything great about the series, and hopefully that'll make your guy go, wow, that show is hype, I think I'll watch more. And for most shows, a good example of this would be the pilot episode. I mean, that's the episode that convinced someone to put it on television, right? Now, you know what show really didn't do that very well? Yeah. I feel like Friendship is Magic could have done a lot more when it comes to making a compelling pilot that make people excited to watch more. Most of the people that I know didn't become a fan of the show after watching the pilots and needed to watch more of it to decide whether or not they were a fan. But still, let's take this opportunity to find out what a good pilot needs to do and what it can do to attract and keep new fans. Now, the most important thing for a pilot to do is set up at least a portion of the main characters. You don't have to go whole hog and introduce every character, although that will have to be done sooner rather than later. But did Friendship is Magic do this? Yes! By the end of the first episode, we had met all of the main 6, plus Spike, a few side characters like Big Mac and Mayor Mare, and were introduced to the show's first villain, Nightmare Moon. And we learned some motivations of some of the characters, like Spike's crush on Rarity, Rainbow's desire to join the Wonderbolts, and Rarity's desire to go to Canterlot. So in that regard, well done. Another big thing they need to do if this is the kind of series that does that is set up some kind of end goal for the main characters. Again, if this is the kind of series that doesn't do that, it's fine. Courage the Cowardly Dog is an example of that, as Courage's pilot, the chicken from outer space, was just Courage trying to keep Muriel safe, which I guess is kind of an end goal, but not really. But an example of a series that does this is Gravity Falls. Yep, we're back to gushing about Gravity Falls again, sue me. In Gravity Falls' first episode, Tourist Trapped, we learn pretty quickly what the goals of the twins are. Dipper wants to figure out the mysteries of Gravity Falls, while Mabel wants to relentlessly flirt with every guy she meets. Does Friendship is Magic do this? Yes! While the episode is leading towards making sure the Summer Sun celebration goes off without a hitch, and later stopping Nightmare Moon, by the end of the second part, we learn about Twilight's goal for the series, making friends and learning lessons about friendship. But the pilots aren't supposed to be nothing but a metric ton of exposition. It still needs to tell an interesting story. Now, when I think of pilots with compelling tales, I think immediately of Samurai Jack's 3-part pilot. Part 1. Jack's village is destroyed by the evil Aku. Jack trains in various locations all over the world. Jack returns to fight Aku. There's an amazing fight between the two. Jack gets thrown into a portal that sends him into an Aku-ruled future. Part 2. Jack's in the future. Oh shit, what the frick is this? Jack gets led to a bar to calm his nerves where he gets into a fight. He meets some canine archaeologists who want his help to free their colleagues. Aku learns about this and sends an army after him. Part 3. Jack and the archaeologists come up with a plan to free the other dogs. The army arrives, and Jack defeats the army with a series of traps along with some good old-fashioned sword killing. That right there is an epic of a pilot. But does Friendship is Magic do this kind of epic tale? No! The pilot's story doesn't get started in full until the second part, and then it tries to cram everyone's example of their proficiency of their element, along with the climactic fight with Nightmare Moon, the ending celebration, and everything else into a 22-minute episode. And it just makes the whole thing feel rushed in the end. Problems arise and are resolved within barely a couple of minutes, to the point where you could almost hear the Staples button in the background going, "That was easy." Now, I don't claim to be an expert in the field of animation, but I can still think of a big way to make this work a little more fluidly. Instead of this being a 2-parter, how about a 5-parter? Now, you might think that's a little too much, but DuckTales pulled off the 5-part intro pretty well. Besides, they could air the first 2 episodes together and have the next 3 come out the next couple of weeks, and just have it be its own self-contained story. Part 1 would remain relatively unchanged. It did a pretty good job of doing all of the present-day exposition stuff. Part 2 would be Twilight and friends discovering what's causing all of this Nightmare Moon stuff. Maybe the gang gets a letter from Canterlot, or they find a book, or something explaining why Nightmare Moon is being such a dickbag. Maybe we can even get a flashback to the fight that happened between Celestia and Luna. And part 2 would end with the gang getting prepared to head into the Everfree Forest, thus telling the audience that the forest is a dangerous place and needs to be treated with preparedness, instead of the ponies just going all gung-ho and running in there. The rest of the episodes would do what the original part 2 did, but stretch it out a little bit and make the ponies do some real thinking to solve their problems. This would also require the writers to make bigger problems than just some spooky-looking trees or a trust fall. Part 3 would demonstrate AJ and Fluttershy's element, Part 4 would be for Pinkie and Rarity, and Part 5 would be for Rainbow's element, followed by a brief magic duel between Twilight and Nightmare Moon, and when that fails, the rest of the main 6 arrive to deliver the Rainbow Blasty Fuck You beam to Nightmare, she turns back into Luna, and then party and episode end. Sounds pretty good? No! It did in my head. But alas, we didn't get the sprawling 5-part epic, we got the cramped 2-part sorta epic. So what do I actually think of the actual pilots? Well, it did some of the things a good pilot needs to do. We got to meet the characters we'd grow to love, we got some entertaining moments, and there was a couple of exciting action scenes. But the episode just seemed to fly by, with issues being resolved like they were no big deal. Especially with most of the second part taking place in the Everfree Forest, which is supposed to be the scariest place in Equestria, but okay then! It's got a good first episode that does all of the important exposition stuff well, but a rushed second part that does almost all of the storytelling stuff badly. I'll give The Friendship is Magic pilots a 5.5 out of 10. Oh, by the way, my friend Tristan and I are planning on doing a series of videos where we talk about cartoon pilot episodes. We're calling the series Test Flight, and while it's still in its development stages, we have all the stuff planned out, so keep an eye on my Twitter and Tumblr pages for more details. Oh, and you can support my Patreon if you like. Links for all of those are in the description. Thanks, and I'll see y'all later.